they associate that with not being detail oriented. So just make sure before you submit your application to check your spelling, grammar, and punctuations. Again, can't emphasize enough, please make sure the way you answer your supplemental questions that you match the answers to your application as well. And then lastly, I briefly mentioned this as well. One size does not fit all. Tailor your profile. So when you submit an application to one job announcement, don't necessarily use that same applicant profile for another job announcement, because you may submit a job announcement for a transportation planner one this today, but next week you'll apply for, I don't know, an engineering job. So you want to tailor it specifically to the job announcement. And then lastly, make sure you fully complete your application profile. So here at Fairfax County government, we do not review resume attachments. We only review, and the official documentation that we use within our recruitment and employment is the actual application that you complete on your end. So make sure you can attach resumes, but we will not rate and rank or review that. The only official documentations that we review and screen are the applicant profile that you submit to to a job announcement.
Okay, are you ready for questions?
No, not yet.
Not yet. Okay.
Sorry, I'm still have time, right?
Oh, yes. Well, 10 more minutes, but we got a lot of questions for you in the chat.
Yeah, if I can save those, I have a couple more slides. I want to go through all the information so they have all their, all their tips and tricks here.
You go ahead.
Okay, awesome. I'll speed it up too. So the next item I wanted to discuss is equivalencies for education and experience. So a lot of times on our job announcements, you'll see in the minimum qualification, it will state any combination of education, experience, and training equivalent to the following. And whenever you see that, unless otherwise specified, but whenever you see that language, the any combination of what I call it language, that means that the education and experience equivalencies will apply. So for example, if you see a minimum qualification with any combination of education, experience, and training equivalent to a bachelor's degree plus 3 years of experience in X, that doesn't mean you have to have a bachelor's degree if you don't have it. It just means that you have to have the equivalent years of experience in order to substitute that education requirement. So substituting experience for education, the way we calculate equivalencies is 2 years of experience will equate to an associate's degree, 4 years of relevant experience will equate to a bachelor's degree, and 1 additional year of experience is granted for advanced degrees, so master's and doctorate's degree. Again, the work experience must be in the field in order to be considered for substitution. So some examples are, the first one would be, say, for instance, if the minimum quals call for a bachelor's degree in accounting, the substitution or equivalency for that would be 4 years of professional level work experience in accounting. If it was a master's degree in social work, the equivalency or substitution for that would be 5 years of professional work experience in social work. Now, if the minimum quals called for a bachelor's degree in information technology plus 2 years of information technology experience, the substitution for that would be 6 years of professional work experience, because the bachelor's, again, accounts for 4 years, and then it also asks for 2 years. So 4 plus 2 is 6. Let's see. And then when we calculate, some of our minimum qualifications may not ask for a degree specifically, but it may ask for some college credits. And we also give or allow for substitution of experience for Summit College. And these are the respective equivalencies for that. Just a reminder, the work experience must be in the field specified in order to be considered for substitution. Now, the reverse. So substituting education for experience. And the way we calculate education for experience equivalencies is as follows, as you see here in the tables. So if you've 45 to less than 90 hours of quarter hours equates to 1 year of experience. 90 to less than 135 hours equates to 2 years, and so forth. If a degree is unrelated, we account for the first 2 years, or for 60 or 90 quarter hours, and count it towards 2 years of experience. So here's an example. Okay, so this is an example of a minimum qualifications for a transportation planner 2. Any combination of education experience and training equivalent to graduation from an accredited 4-year college or university with a bachelor's degree in civil engineering, urban, regional, or transportation planning, or a closely related field, plus 2 years of professional experience in civil engineering, urban, regional, or transportation planning, or a closely related field. So let's do this scenario. Jane Doe has a master's degree in urban planning, but only 1 year of experience in transportation planning. Does she meet the minimum qualifications for the transportation 2 position? Can anybody answer? Can they answer? Can they unmute? I don't know. I forgot, Jody. Or if you want to put it in the chat.
Yeah, they have to put it in the chat. They can't unmute. They need to put it in chat.
Okay. What are the answers so far? Any answers? Yes or no?
Let's see. I will let you know.
This is my test to see if you're all paying attention.
It said someone's let's see. Someone said based on who is reviewing the application. Someone said no. Someone said yes. Lacks actual experience. A lot of people said yes, 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 yes.
Okay. Okay. Awesome. Thank you, Jody. So yes, Jane does meet the minimum qualifications because her master's degree is related and she has 1 year of experience, at least 1 year of experience. So that makes up for the lack of 1 year that she has, which of the 2 years. There are a few more items I wanted to cover just to make sure, because this is another pothole that some either miss or don't disclose. For the education piece, in order to give you the appropriate credit, make sure you complete the fields on the left that are required in an asterisk, but also the fields here on the right that I marked up here. So make sure you include your major and minor, the degree that you obtained, the units completed, meaning the credit hours that you've completed this semester or quarter hours that you've completed. If you've, and that specifically in case you have not completed a degree, just because again, we do account for your uncompleted degrees or the credit hours that you may have completed. Also include the start and end date. But the biggest item I want to notate is make sure you notate whether or not you graduated from that institution so that we know whether or not you actually completed the potential degree that you said or answered that you have. Calculating years of experience. So in all of our job announcement, you'll see the supplemental questions asking for full-time equivalent hours or years of experience. And the way we calculate full-time equivalent years of experience is as follows. So it's 40 hours in a given work week, and in a calendar year, 52 weeks. So if you work 40 hours within a given year, the 52 weeks, that equates to 1 year of full-time equivalent experience. Now we prorated accordingly. So if you only work part-time, say you work 20 hours per week, the full-time in a given year, that would equate to 6 months of full-time equivalent experience and so forth. Okay, to wrap it up, in summary, make sure you set up your job alerts. That's step number 1, just so you don't have to always go back to our job announcement or job postings to see what's new and what's available. This will again allow you to receive those automated notifications. Submit your online application as soon as possible, well before the closing date. I always suggest, just because in case you want to update or make any tweaks to your profile, which you certainly can, and can do up to the deadline. Compare and match the job announcement to your resume and your experience. Again, highlight, review, use that job announcement as your roadmap, and tailor your application, and make sure you detail and provide a lot of detail around or content around the experience that you may have that pertains to the job announcement. Answer the supplemental questions accordingly, so to your experience, and match your answers to the supplemental questions within your application. Again, do not shortchange yourself. Include any relevant volunteer or non-paying experience. And I know for some of you that may have already applied in the past, you may have been referred, you may have either interviewed, but stay positive, stay consistent, and keep applying. With that, Jody, I will open it up for questions.
Okay. And we're going to give you a couple more minutes, Nhu-An, if that's okay,
Yeah,
because
sure.
there's so many questions in the chat. Wonderful. And then, of course, any unanswered questions, you go back in the chat, and if you have a few minutes, and you can answer them directly.
Yeah,
So
awesome.
okay, wonderful. So we're starting with a question at 10:24. Someone said, how are applicants ranked when they have a career break? What are the concerns from HR when looking at these applicants?
As far as breaks in employment, is that the
Yes,
question?
correct.
Okay.
Yes.
So we don't discount you not working. So as long as you put in not worked or whatever the case is, we account for what you provide to us. So we understand here at Fairfax County, you have a personal life. You may have taken a break from work for whatever the case may be, whether it's for your children, caring for an elderly parent. That doesn't make you less qualified in our eyes.
Okay, great. My question just jumped. Here we go. Okay, here we go. Why is it difficult to get a job offer for S27 and above for outside of county employees? From my research, most of jobs S27 and above pay grade are wired, only offered to existing county employees, even though they are advertised as open to public. Why is that? Most 50+ job seeking individuals are experienced and looking for work.
So in my experience, I haven't received that data, but no, we are always open to new, fresh talent. Like I said, I haven't received that data, so I wouldn't be able to speak to that. So when it's open to the general public, yes, obviously, any job announcement, our internal candidates are allowed and may apply to. So, but it may be a matter of the interview process. So, how well you interview and do during the interview process. But I do not have that data as far as, our internal candidates being hired over external candidates, predominantly for S27 grades or higher.
Okay. Do you consider volunteer work as experience?
Yes, absolutely. As I mentioned, any relevant volunteer experience that you may have pertaining to the job, please always include that. Like I said, you can include that in the work history section of the application or in that additional information section. I recommend putting it in the work history section because there are fields already pre-populated where you can enter in the dates of your start and end date of that volunteer experience, as well as the duties associated with that volunteer experience and the hours you volunteered per week. So yes,
Wonderful.
absolutely. We account for that if it's relevant to the job announcement.
Okay. Are private sector resumes acceptable?
Okay, as far as resumes, remember, we do not review resumes. So make sure when you apply, you can certainly attach a resume, but we do not review that in our screening process. Make sure you submit an actual application.
Okay, wonderful. Yeah. Is the cover letter required or just the application? How does an applicant follow up on a job application?
Great question. So cover letters are not required. Like I said, the application is the primary and official documentations we review and screen. And then I'm sorry, Jody, what was the second question The second part of the
Um,
question.
how does an applicant follow up on a job application?
Perfect. Great question. Yes. So there are two things. Once you submit your online application, you will be able to go back to your government jobs account or profile, and it will always list the status of your application. It may say, for example, did not meet minimum qualifications or did not meet preferred qualifications, or it may say refer to agency for further review and consideration. If you're in that step, the review forward to agency for further review and consideration, that means our central office has forwarded you as one of the top candidates for that particular opportunity. And at that point, it's really out of our hands, because then the particular agency and job announcement that you apply to takes over, and then they handle the interview process on their end. But typically, once a job announcement closes, you should see a status update within, I would say, 5 to 10 business days. So after you submit the application, make sure you check back into your government jobs profile and check what your status is. If you're unable or get antsy, I totally understand that. If you get antsy, you want to know any other information, which typically whatever's on the application or your government jobs status, that's what we will be telling you. But if you get antsy, you can always contact our HR central office here as well. And I'll provide the contact information at the end too.
Wonderful. This is a good question. How do I withdraw an application? On one of my applications, there's a FC notation that responses to my questionnaire do not match what's on my resume. In the future, I'll take greater care to ensure that they do match. Meanwhile, I'm concerned that the notation reflects poorly on my application skills, and I want the application to be deleted.
So,
Please help.
okay. I will help you, but no, I physically can, once you submit an application, that's tied to the actual job announcement that you apply to. And we do not review it unfavorably or do not, annotate a characteristic for one application with another. So, but if you wanted to withdraw from a process in general, you could just call us and then we will notify the respective agency to withdraw your candidacy.
Okay. I've been in the workforce for 40 years, which I'm assuming many of our 50-plussers have been. It's difficult to condense my experience onto a 2-page resume. Any tips?
Yes, so like I mentioned, we have zero limits. So as long as you're succinct, you can provide as much information around your experience as you wish. The more detailed information you can provide around your experience and your accomplishments, even better. So we're not like the private industry or sector where we say, keep your resume to 1 to 2 pages. No, like I said, what you're submitting with us as an applicant profile is what we call it. So provide as much or as little information that you like, but I recommend providing as much information as you can around the experience that you have that you're applying to. And again, tailor it to the application. That's really important. Don't assume one size fits all approach, just because again, each recruitment is a different job announcement with different preferred qualifications, different minimum qualifications. And so make sure you tailor it accordingly. But no, there's no limit to our application profile that you can submit.
Okay. How can you tell which jobs are remote or hybrid?
Okay, so with Fairfax County government, I would say 90% of our positions are a hybrid type environment, unless specified or unless you're emergency essential personnel. But our telework policy is that you work 2 days a week on site, and then 3 days a week you can telework. That's for most regular positions here at the county. Like I said, unless you're an emergency personnel identified position, or if you're a nurse, or if the position requires you to be on site. If you're a nurse, obviously you can't telework. So, but most of our positions are hybrid.
Nhu-An, we have a question here because some of our 50-plussers are saying this is general information, but how does this help a 50-plus applicant apply? But I would think knowing the system is helping our job seekers, but maybe you can address that question.
So we don't differentiate. So when we look at an application, we don't there's no age that we look at. There's no date of birth that we look at. There's no, we don't review any of that. What we really review, and this is why we're emphasizing the application process, is we solely review what you're submitting on the application, your work history, the education that you say you have, etc. So we don't review date of birth or any of that. If that makes sense. I'm not sure if that answers the question.
No, I mean,
We don't differentiate whether you're
Right.
21 or 50. The more experience you
Right.
have, the even better, as long as you, provide that on the application.
So your information is helping our 50+ jobs because it's helping you know the system and how to apply effectively and properly.
Yeah.
Someone said, I applied for a position but did not receive any acknowledgement of my application or feedback. Could you please share a bit about the overall response protocol?
Yeah, so once you actually submit your application, you will receive an automated notification via email indicating that we've received your application. So if you did not receive that, that means we did not receive your application, or something went awry in the midst of it, or you didn't apply within the specified deadline. But like I said, if you applied successfully, you will receive an email notification confirming that. And then, like I said, you can check your application status within the government jobs application profile. You can always log back in, check your status for each and every job announcement that you apply to. And that will typically be displayed in for review, again, 5 to 10 business days once a job announcement closes, because it takes our process. There's a process on our end that we need to do in reviewing. So again, that the turnaround time is 5 to 10 business days.
Okay, and I'll just do 2 last questions, then I'll let you go into the chat. How do you count for work done as an independent contractor in the company/agency line, and how would you verify foreign degrees?
So for degrees specifically, each agency handles that on their own. They do an education check, and then for I'm sorry, what was the first question?
The first question is, how do you count for work done as an independent contractor in the company/agency line?
Not anything different from any regular work experience with a full-time or not anything different. So whatever experience you have, whether it's with as a contractor, we account for it.
Okay, wonderful. Okay, so Nhu-An, you have been a plethora of information. We have loved every minute of this.
Awesome.
If you could stay in the chat for a few minutes more, we are at Beth at 10:57 a.m. and down. So we got to a lot of questions, so I thank you. And if you can, when you answer them, if you can answer them directly,
okay,
instead of to everyone, so because we're now going to have another presentation and we don't want to answer. Yeah, you understand. But thank you. And we hope you come back soon for another expo.
Yes, and thank you all so much.
Oh, thank you. And Anne, I'm going to pass it on to you now.
Thank you, Jody.